with Lady D today. I'm your host, Lady D. Be a guest on our show. To- well, welcome to What's Going On with Lady D. I am your host today. We have a wonderful, brilliant young lady that's going to give us some wonderful information. Her name is Dana Acey. She is a bondswoman and an insurance professional, helping people through tough times. She is here to share what to expect from a Bell's bond agent and must have insurance. We all need that insurance protection. Welcome, Dana, and how are you today?
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Hey, I'm so happy to have you on. I mean, you have a very challenging job, but so rewarding, and it's so rewarding to our community. So please tell our listeners a little bit something about yourself. Are you from Cleveland?
I am from Cleveland. I grew up in the Union, like the Union Harbor area when I was young. I've only lived in one other place, and that was Washington, D.C.
Okay.
But we made it back. Cleveland is home. We made it back here when I was young, and this is my home.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I know everybody, our listeners, are very interested in this bail bonds program and what is a bail bonds and what's all involved in, being a bail bonds woman. So I'm going to ask you, what exactly does a bail bond person do?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that bail is actually another form of insurance. So just like you insure your car or your home, you're insuring a court date, and that's
Okay.
what people don't realize. So when the judge is saying your bond is $10,000, they're thinking like, oh my God, I've got to pay $10,000. Well, you can hire a bonding company. We put up the $10,000 that the court is asking for, and then we charge the family a premium. So the premium is non-refundable. It's 10%. That's state law, and it's usually like that all over the nation.
See.
Pretty much every bonding company is 10%, and we are ensuring that the person comes back and appears for all of their court dates. And the average case is at least like 6 months, but it gives the family a chance to afford coming back home as well as hiring representation. Because $10,000 is a lot for any family.
Right. Exactly. So that keeps them from being incarcerated.
Right.
Okay.
Because the financial strain of paying that type of money plus taking care of your household is a bit much, and that's where we step in. We do a full assessment. We want to know who you are. Why should we risk $10,000?
Yeah, because that's a lot to give to
Yes.
someone, and they might skip town.
Right.
So if they skip town, I want to know about that part.
Right.
If they run off and don't show up for the court date, then now, how do you get your money?
So that's the hard part. So worst case scenario, a lot of times we try to work it out because the
Okay.
last thing we want is to jam up a family. It's a lot of money. If we can work it out behind the scenes, like an example would be maybe they just weren't keeping up with the mail or keeping up with their court dates, or they didn't know that they can go online. So I try to be very thorough with explaining the process to my clients because sometimes they don't know that. They're like, well, I didn't get it in the mail, but the judge doesn't want to hear that.
Right, right.
Because now we have, you can call them, you can go online. But if a person misses their court date, I'll try to work it out first. I'll I'll try to get them back on the docket. I'll call the judge, I'll call the bailiff, I'll call the court and see what can we do to get a family back on track. Because the last thing we want to do is bring a hardship on a family.
Right.
Now, if it gets past that, and I still don't get any cooperation,
Right.
then of course a lot of people have heard of the term bounty hunters, but we don't.
Yes.
Yes, but we don't use that term.
Okay.
We use recovery agents.
Oh, nicely.
Right. They don't want us to use that language, but
Okay.
so we use recovery agents where now I don't have a choice because this person, the example was $10,000.
Right.
This person may cost my company $10,000. So it's like, man, I got to get you in front of the judge.
Right.
For one, I got an obligation. This is the paperwork that I signed. I signed that I would be responsible for this person.
Right.
So, as they say out in the street, my word is my bond. So I got, if I pledge that I'm going to do my job, I've got to do my job.
Right.
So it's business. It's nothing personal at that point.
Okay, I see. Now, what should someone look for when they're trying to choose a trustworthy bail bonds person?
I would say someone that's thorough because there's anyone could just throw numbers out there and give you a price. My price is the same as anyone else. Remember, we're charging a 10% premium.
Okay.
But there's more value with my company, as far as what you get. You want someone that's going to be professional, someone that's going to be very thorough, someone that's going to explain what is going to happen to you and not just take your money. And then we are the only bonding company that offers wraparound services. So we support the community. And that's not something that's ever been done before. And we've been doing very well with that, with our partnerships.
Talk about what is the wraparound services that your company provides.
Okay. So we noticed, at least I noticed early on, because I've been doing this for 20 years.
Okay.
So the first thing I noticed was you may lose your job when you get arrested. The job, they don't want to be associated with you. If they feel like you're accused of a crime, you haven't even been found guilty yet, but they want to distance themselves from you. So if you're making $30,000 and $40,000 a year, that would put a strain on the family. So what I started doing was meeting with different nonprofits and different agencies and advocating for my clients, letting them know what the process is of going to court and why they should give a second chance to someone. Because these people have families.
Right.
And they're not accused of a crime yet.
Right.
I mean, I know that there are bad people out here, but a lot of these people have families, they just made a mistake, and that doesn't mean you can't get back on track.
Right.
But the whole family shouldn't experience a hardship. So if this person is willing, even with a pending case, if they're willing to get back on track, do what they need to do, work and show that they can be responsible, it's a win. So once I started explaining the process to these companies on why you should hire someone with a pending case, a lot of people with a pending case are pretty loyal to their family and loyal to the situation. They want to show up on time. They
Right.
know, like, oh my God, I have a situation.
Right.
And I need to clear this up. Maybe I messed up, but I want to make it right.
Right.
And also it gains the benefit of having wraparound services is a lot of my clients, they gain more confidence and credibility with the judge. The judge does want to see you get back on track. They don't want to see you just show up like, oh, I've been doing nothing for 6 months. So it's a win-win. Your lawyer has something that they can present to advocate for you better. So I think that a lot of people just needed someone to tell their story better, and then once a lot of these agencies started finding out like, oh, okay, we see what you're saying, then they were willing to hire people. So I asked them to partner with my agency so that as soon as a person is released from prison, so either prison or post bond,
Okay.
with a pending case, would you please consider them for whatever job openings you have? And I just kept advocating for them, and now it's grown into what it is now.
That is truly amazing.
So a lot of families are getting help.
That's great. And then, there's nothing like having a second chance because, things happen and nobody's perfect. And our system here today, you mess up and all you have, like you said, is your word, and I think it's only fair to give a person another chance,
Yeah.
especially if there was no harm,
Yes.
intended.
Yes. So a lot of my clients, they're nonviolent, nonviolent offenses.
Okay.
And there's a few of them in there, of course, like felonious assault and domestic violence, where a person may have lost their temper, or just did something they're not proud of. Put it to you
Right.
like that.
Okay.
But they need to understand how our system works. A lot of them just didn't even have the answer. They didn't know. They were kind of giving up. And it's a vulnerable time for a lot of them. And I was noticing I was having a lot of repeat offenders because they were thinking like, oh my God, I've just caught this case. I've lost my job. I'm getting ready to lose my family. I don't have a choice but to go back out to the streets. And that is not what we want. We want vibrant communities. We want strong families. So, being able to advocate for them and also show them by walking them through the steps of what their first few months are going to look like with their case.
Yeah.
I'm not an
that's
attorney.
important. Right.
Yes, I got to say that because somebody report me to the Bar Association. But just being able to walk them through, give them just an overview of what life may look like when you catch a case and how it can go well for you. A lot of families appreciate that because they just need it broke down. Like, you may have a strong attorney, but he's talking to you in all these technical terms. Ohio Revised Code says this. And they're like, it's going over their head. They're not realizing what they're hearing.
Right.
So I have a different way of just talking to the families, letting them know, like, it's going to be okay. This is my, basically it's a consultation.
Yeah, and you're compassionate about it,
Yes.
and people need to understand that fine print.
Yes. And they don't. It's amazing to me how many people actually don't read. They don't read that paperwork. They just want to get it over with.
Yeah.
And it's stress. That's all it is. It's just a stressful time for any family. They feel like they're losing. I'm getting ready to lose it all. And they're vulnerable and they're stressed out and they're not thinking it all the way through. Even with counsel, even with an attorney, they may not understand some of the pitfalls, that await for them just by not taking that time out, calm down and ask the right questions. So once I really started noticing that, I was just like, no, somebody's got to take a stand. This is our community. And I didn't want to be one of those companies where, I just take your money. We want to add value to people's lives. And that's the difference with us. Because you can go somewhere else and just pay and be done. But at least we want to put value back into our community. So that's how I'm different that's how I separate myself from most of the other bail agencies out here. We put people first.
And that's really good to know because, I know when I was much younger, and go down to the clerk courts and maybe just they're taking care of some business and or paying a parking ticket. Okay, because back in the day I lived on a street where the bus stop and well behold, if you didn't get your car moved and it was all apartments, so you're always going to get a ticket. And I would go and then I always see the bails bonds man over there. And he was always looking real slick and cool.
You're right.
And I was like, oh, so he got a gravy job. All he do is, get money and move on. And I never knew the in-depth.
Yeah.
So what would be some of the questions that someone should ask or need to know that's most important when they're doing the process?
When your family first gets arrested, definitely find out where they're taking your family.
Okay.
So you need to know what jail the person is in,
Okay.
and you need to know some information about a person, because we can't really find the person without key information, which is basically their date of birth. If you can tell us where the person is and what their date of birth is, we can pretty much find this person, because we don't have the same system as the police. Like the police has like a different type of lead system where they can search for anyone anywhere.
Right.
And we may not have all those capabilities. We are officers of the court here in Ohio, but we may not have those kind of capabilities. So when you're trying to look for your family fast, like most people want an answer right now.
Right,
Where is he
right,
now?
right.
When you call me, you have to at least have that. The correct spelling of the name. I can't tell you how many people I could not find because the person is so stressed, they're
Right.
spelling the name wrong.
Right.
So if I'm gonna look up someone, I need the correct spelling of their name to be able to find them in the system. So I would say that is just the bare minimum.
Okay.
Definitely have that. And sometimes the families are able to call home use a collect line,
Okay.
set up a collect account and tell their families like, hey, I'm in such and such a jail. Like, we'll just use Cleveland. I'm downtown Cleveland. That's why
Right.
you haven't heard from me. You no longer have to call hospitals. I'm downtown, so because a lot of the families are like, oh my God, I haven't heard from him in an hour. I don't know where's my husband. And he may be downtown, because Cleveland's system it takes a while. It's at least 24 hours. So families may be panicking like, what happened to my family member? It's been a whole day, where they just may be in Cleveland jail. So having that information ready, I can be able to check for you. And also, if the person is calling collect, one thing that we take for granted is that is a recorded line. So please, my families, please keep the details at a minimum. We hear on the movies like anything you say can be used against you.
Right.
And we think that that's just in the movies. No, that is for real. That is, I'm trying to tell these moms and grandmas, and I try to tell my young men that go through our criminal justice system, when you get arrested, stop trying to explain everything that happens to you on that recorded line, because I am actually seeing that they are using that. They're using that, and they actually don't give you the heads up. Like, oh, we're going to use what you said.
Right.
They wait until the prosecutor will wait until, it's case negotiation. So you might have an excellent attorney. He's advocated for everything for you. He's thinking that everything's going great, and then bam, out of nowhere, the prosecutor will show up with a recording of you
my
talking
goodness.
about the case.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can't say that enough. When you first get arrested, please correct spelling of your name, date of birth, and please do not discuss all of the details of your arrest on that recorded line. It's just a no. It's a no. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. My goodness. So let me ask you, what is the typical cost of, or payments to when you're working with the bail bonds person, agent?
Well, the typical cost is it's 10%. That's
Okay.
Ohio law.
Okay.
Is we have to charge, as the example I used was a $10,000 bond. So the 10% would be $1,000 is what a family would need.
Okay.
That would be the premium, and it's non-refundable. That's because we have to put up the check to the clerk of courts,
Right.
securing the money, securing the $10,000 as a bonding company.
Okay.
So I would say that's about the average bond call that I may get is around that price. I would say on the lower end, a family may pay, a $2,500 bond, which is like $250 on the lower end, because we do have bonds that are small as $100,
Okay.
all the way up to $100,000.
Right.
So depending on what's going on, Like I said, some people are just disorderly conduct.
Okay.
That might be a smaller
Smaller
fee.
fee, okay. Now, what are the responsibility for a person who is signing for the bail bond that they take on?
Okay. So what they're signing is, because remember, insurance company does not want to take losses. We want to be made whole.
Right.
So even though you're looking at the small amount, which is the 10%, like, oh, well, all I have to pay is 10%. No, you're signing for the entire amount of the bond. So like we discussed, if you miss court, and the example again, $10,000 bond, you're signing for an entire $10,000 bond. So even though you just pay the 10%, which is $1,000, you're actually signing financial responsibility for the whole 10,000. So if the court is going to find my company and say, hey, look, Joe Smith didn't make it to court and it's costing me $10,000, I have the right to go back to the family and say, hey, you signed paperwork, you signed legal documents with me saying, Dana, everything will be okay if you put up this $10,000. And if it's not, I'm going to ask you, are you going to pay that $10,000 to me?
So let me ask you, so like if they have property, you can go and put a lien on the property.
Correct.
Things like that. So they have to put up collateral.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So some of these bonds, which are a lot higher, I would say a good example of that would be like $100,000 bond. Well, that's a lot of money. That type of money could cripple a company.
Okay.
So remember, we've never met. You're calling me up saying, hey, I need your services.
Total stranger.
Yes, we've
yes.
never met.
Right.
So why should I put up that kind of money for you? Why should I put up $100,000 for you? Well, a reason I might do that is because you have very strong collateral, which is your home. We all see the housing market now. Homes are up.
Yes.
So a person that they may not have a lot of cash in the bank, but they actually have a home that may be worth, $150,000, $200,000 on up. So now I'm saying like, okay, that might be a good risk for my company because if that's a lot of money,
right,
right. And so now I have a reason to do business with them because it's like, okay, they do have collateral.
Right.
They do have assets,
right.
And I can help a family. So, I haven't had issues with that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, you are doing something really fantastic in our communities, and I want you to tell our listeners about what you have coming up. And I understand that it's going every month. So let's talk about the wonderful work that you're doing in the community.
Right. So my community advocacy work has been growing. It's given me a chance to give more wraparound services to our clients. And it's also gaining credibility throughout the county. So I just, excuse me. So I just got a partnership with our Cuyahoga County Public Defender's Office they basically help me out. So, it looks like they're working for me for once a month for 2 hours. I do it at the Garfield Heights Public Library. So we need people to get their warrant blocks lifted. A lot of people need driving privileges, and they can only do the driving privileges for the city of Cleveland.
Okay.
And they also need their records expunged. So they're willing to do that for me once a month for the rest of 2025. They already pledged that they're going to stick with me because they like my program.
Okay.
And then I just got, I did ask Earl B. Turner, Clerk of Courts, if they would give me one staff member so that people can get on the docket right away, because it's crucial that people get jobs and into housing. And if you have warrants for your arrest, you may not can move into your desired location, and you definitely won't be able to get your desired job with a warrant. So that would help speed up the process. So they just said yes, Dana. They showed
That's
up,
awesome.
last night for me, and we helped a lot of families. It was about 60 families that showed up.
Wow.
I was so shocked. It was, it's well received. People are getting the help that they need. And they're also taking advantage of these, these jobs that are available for them as well. So that's what we want. We want families back on track. So I'm just going to keep doing it until, I run out of gas, which I got a lot of energy. So that's, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But as long as I can keep getting out here, advocating for families, I'm going to keep doing it because it's much needed. It's much needed. And there's no one else doing this. We are the first to do this. We are the first bail bond agency to have these partnerships. So I'm very, very grateful, and I don't take it for granted at all. These people are, the county is trusting me to be a professional, to do a good job, and I appreciate them being open to having a discussion with me and giving me these resources.
That's awesome. Now you got to tell our listeners, what's the name of your agency and how can they reach you? Because I know the phone lines are going to start jumping. People want to know how to get help.
Yes. So the name of my agency is Dana Bail Bonds and Insurance Services. We are located at 5900 Detroit Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio. The business phone line is 216-410-8911. And our second location is in Youngstown inside the United Returning Citizens building. Awesome. So that's 611 Belmont Avenue. That's downtown Youngstown. So our next event is actually March 5th, 2025. March 5th, save the date, please. Okay. We'll be helping a lot of families. Anyone that needs to get their warrants blocks removed, we can now remove your warrants in the entire county and not just Cleveland. Awesome. So a lot of people called me from different suburbs. They really needed the help, and they did not have the funds. So I'm glad to be able to say that my agency is definitely a resource to help people, even if it's a suburb.
Now I know they want to know. So now what's the charge for all of this?
Free. We do all of this for free because we want to uplift our community. I feel like any business owner, like I've been in business for 20 years. And if it wasn't for my community believing in me, I would not have made it this far. So this is my way of saying thank you to my community because I see that they need it. I see that, there wasn't that many people stepping it up for them. Someone had to take a stance, and, it should be me. It's no point in seeing what's going on and then staying behind the curtain, hiding, not doing anything about it.
Right.
So these are our loved ones. These are our families. These are our neighbors. These are our people. Yeah. And, if we're going to have a strong community for our kids, we just have to, like they say, be the change you want to see, or stand up and be the example. Exactly. And it was a little scary at first because, it wasn't well received. They're like, what is she doing?
Right.
But I'm so glad that people gave me a chance. I kept knocking on doors. I'm relentless for my community. And now finally I'm able to help a lot of families.
See, God is always working when you think he's not. And I really believe he has worked through you to bring about a change. And with the change, we can pass the torch.
Yes.
And make our communities safe and strong and vibrant. And you don't have to go back doing the same old thing you were doing to get you in trouble. Now you can come on and get free.
Yeah. So, and it helps to have someone that understands your story.
Yes.
Because, I wasn't from a rich neighborhood,
Give them that number one more time.
That's 216-410-8911.
And your name is?
Dana AC of Dana Bail Bonds and Insurance Services.
Now that's what's going on. So come on and get free on March 2nd. Thanks for watching. Join us every Thursday, and you too can be a guest straight from KAZ Radio Podcast Studio.